for this special call meeting. I'd like, if you would, at this time, if you have a cell phone, if you either put it on, go ahead and put it on silent or whatever, so we don't have any interruptions during this thing, if you would. I appreciate that. We have, on our agenda here, I have called the meeting to order. As I said, this is a special call meeting on August 5th, 2025, and it's now 6 o'clock. Item number 2 on our agenda, items of business. At this time, I'd like to open up the public hearing portion of tonight's meeting. And with that being said, I have the list. We've got, when the time comes to have the public hearing, we will call out the name of the individual that's on here and have you come forward to the podium. You would, whoever the individual is, announce your name and your address. You're limited to 3 minutes, speaking wise. The comments that take place during this portion of it is, and this will be addressed further under, if Humphrey's comes forward, only if the issue at hand is the Clomar, and Ed will explain the Clomar. So that's all we're dealing with tonight is Clomar, and Ed will explain how that works. So I have, like I say, got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I've got 8 people on the list. So the hearing's open. At this time, Ed, would you mind addressing the background information for the process we're going through today?
And Melanie will have to help me, our attorney, and maybe even Michael will help me with the details.
Let me stop for a second. For those who aren't aware of it, we'll go through this. Patricia Kenley is the town council. David Link is also a town council. I'm the mayor, as I said earlier. Melanie Cox is our city attorney, town attorney, and we got John Biggers up there for the town council. That's who is in front of you tonight. So thank you. I'm sorry for it.
It is our understanding that we should hold a public hearing and address what they call Clomar, and I had to remind myself what Clomar meant then. Teresa, what does that mean again? Clomar?
Conditional letter of map.
Conditional letter of
Map revision.
Map revision. Okay. Clomar. Last year, we went into an agreement with Michael, and Michael made it over the bridge. I think we're all familiar with the bridge. Anybody not familiar with the bridge over the Goose Creek to access his property? With that letter of non-conforming to our ordinance, we agreed to and agreed for Michael to apply to FEMA for an exception in his section to allow him to not meet our standards, basically, or ordinance, and build another bridge.
Upon the state's recommendation.
On the state's recommendation, yeah. The hydraulic, well, I won't get into that, but that's the process we've asked him to do, is apply for FEMA, and there's a procedure to do that, asking for an exception in this bridge type. Now, the 2 people who will be affected by that bridge, if it's built, are upstream, and they have been notified of this meeting. And the possible increase in flood levels if the Clomar is approved, or Lomar is approved, after the Clomar is approved. This process will be, the Clomar, FEMA will approve, and then Michael will have to apply for another permit called a Lomar to locate the bridge. Short and sweet. Michael, this is Michael Macon. He's the owner of the property. I'll let him explain what he has been doing with Clomar.
Hey, can I ask a quick question, just to be sure, I'm sure we all are on the same page. He's going to make his statement. Once he is through making his statement, we as town council can ask him questions. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And then once we get through that process, then we'll get down to 2F.
No, to the
Well, 2E, but that is the engineering report, it's 2E. But as far as conversation back and forth, the only conversation back and forth would be in 2F on our agenda, would be between the town council and Mike. Is that correct?
Well, the public comments are from the public. They've got their 3 minutes to address anything they want to.
Right.
Their comments to you as a group, you don't respond to them, that's just comments. If there is comments after Michael concludes, you ask him the questions you need to ask Michael. I'm going to explain the report we got from the engineer.
Right.
The two separate issues, the Clomar public hearing or part of it is Michael, is the Clomar. The other is their comments to you from the public.
But I just want to clarify, for sure it's understood that there will be no dialogue between the public and Mike.
No.
So everybody understands that there's no dialogue there. The only dialogue would be between the town council and Mike. Am I saying that correct?
Thank you. Yeah, just one point of correction. Once you do the Clomar, which is a conditional letter, then you do the as-built. Once FEMA approves, then you do the as-built, then you go to a Lomar, but then it's change the map. So I'll go through that process. Okay, I'm not gonna do a page turn, but this will give you the gist of it. So the first part just addresses the why of the request. No, the property, as we mentioned, is one way in and one way out. First, let me address this, that a Clomar addresses only the 1% flood or the 0.2% flood. The 100%, meaning the 100-year flood possibility, which is 1%, or the 500-year flood, which is 5%, 0.5%. So that's what this hydraulic report only addresses that, and the Clomar only addresses that. Not the potential of it raining and flooding, unless it's raining enough to get to the 100-year flood percentage. Okay, just want to point that out. But the why, let's just address the why. The why is, there's only one way in and out. During an event, you'll be trapped in there if you have a 100-year flood. Just so you know, the land was cultivated in 2003. I was planting strawberries. All of the drip edge and the mulch washed away. So several $1,000s worth of equipment washed away because of the flood, because of the overflood. And the last one probably should be first. We're crossing a floodway. That's the reason for the. So let me just address the process. A Clomar, what that does is it asks, can I do this? It asks FEMA, here's what I want to do. And FEMA reviews and say, typically they say yes, if it's in accordance with, and I won't go into the regulation, but if it's in accordance with the National Flood NFI program. If it's in accordance with that, they will say yes, or issue a favorable opinion. So just to give you a background on the National Flood Insurance Program requirements, it's Federal Code of Regulations 60, 65, and 70. 60 talks about the criteria for land management and use. And that's, a permit has been obtained for that. That's a checkbox. 65 talks about floodway revision, which is we're doing that in public notice and the hydraulic analysis, which we have done previously. And then the last part about the Code of Regulations 70, and that's talking about the process fee, where you have to pay $6,000 to get them to start the process. And what I want to do here is talk about the overview and the concurrence forms. The form has 3 set of certifications. I call it certification, but you certify where the requester, which is me, certified that you own the property and that you're responsible for paying for the permits. The second part is the community, where they certify that they are aware of the progress of the project. They understand the impact, and we'll talk about that later, and all the necessary permits have been issued. And then the last certification talks about the engineer, where the engineer certifies that they have used engineer standard practices. Yeah, and one thing I just want to touch on, once this approved, when FEMA issues approved, just the plan is to once approved, start the hauling. This is just for the floodway, not the land, because behind the land has nothing to do with, the land past the flood zone has nothing to do with this process. This just talks about the floodway. The floodway is mainly the Goose Creek, the river, the creek, and then I think it's 400 feet on the side, the floodplain. Then the potential impact, and that's you have the report there, but I just want to touch on that. And this is talking about during the 100-year flood. Upstream of the proposed bridge, the water surface elevation increases to 9.8 inches, with the impact decreasing to less than a half an inch just downstream of Highway Bottom Road Bridge. So the only impact is to the golf course and the Singh family, which theirs is probably less than 50 feet impact, but most of the impact is to the golf course. And I think Ed had sent those letters already. The main thing, the increase in the BFE, the elevation, is in the Goose Creek buffer. So the impact to the golf course and the impact of seeing that property cannot be improved anyway. So it's within the buffer of Goose Creek. So the main impact, the land cannot be used to improve during the Goose Creek buffer. And then also the impact, there's no insurable buildings or structure that will be at impact. So the ask here is, the application was finished in June 1st. I think I asked Melanie and Ed for a copy of the letters for the letters to be sent. So in order to complete the package, we need the letters to the impacted neighbors and the MT2 executed. And I'll show you a copy of that as well. If you pass this around, marked out actually. That's the actual copy, but that's not the one that will be emailed to the team. But the key thing is that the diploma that we will submit is within the NFIP, National Flood Insurance Program regulations. It's within the Code of Federal Regulations 60, 65, and 70. The town, the community is fully aware of what is being impacted. They're aware of the impact to the neighbors, and there's no impact to the community, and the necessary permit has been okay. Questions, comments?
When you talk about the buffer, explain what you mean by the buffer. It would impact the golf course and
So at 200 feet along the creek.
Right, both sides.
Both sides, exactly. So this impact says it will raise it up at the bridge, above the bridge, Howard Bottom, 9.8 inches. But that's within the 200 feet. So it won't go above the 200 feet. The creek And then you have the banks. So if you come up 9.8 inches, it will be within 200 feet. So currently there's no structures that will be impacted in that 200 feet. So that's within the buffer. That's the buffer I'm talking about.
So the buffer is inside the 200 feet on either side.
That's the buffer, correct.
And the increase in height, you're referring to what you're going to do to be able to build the bridge to where it needs to be at the appropriate height. Is that correct statement?
It's the field that has to go in to build the bridge up. So you build the bridge, but the current bridge is down to 518, you go to 525.
Right.
I'm going to put field in, not in the floodway, but in the floodplain to raise up the bridge.
Right.
And that field during a 100-year event, a 100-year event will cause the backup to go up to 9.8 inches at that time, but it will be within the buffer.
Okay.
At that time, yes.
So we're not talking about raising the buffer just 9 inches. Obviously, it's got to go up significantly more than that. It is only the impact based on the study that's represented in the 100-year flood would potentially raise that water up 9 inches.
Correct. Exactly. But from Howard Bottom Bridge down to the creek, my bridge, is only 0.5 inches. But yes, that's correct. It will raise it. Doing that event.
Good question.
Yes.
I know the percentage is very, very low of the 500-year flood, but do you have any idea if that should occur, how much will it raise upstream?
Oh, I don't know I don't think the analysis for a 500-year event. I'll check. You recall it?
Do not.
I'm just curious if that should happen, would it be 5 times greater than it was for the 100-year? I'm just curious.
Yeah, I don't know if the models to that, but it only talks about 100%. I mean, the 1% annual chance of water surface elevation.
You made a statement a minute ago that the neighbors had been notified. What have they been notified of and how were they notified?
Yeah.
We notified them, there are two properties, one being the golf
So two
course,
upstream.
one is being the
Okay.
Sings. That if in fact it did go up to that point, then they may have a potential impact, but it would not be a structural impact. So that the golf course is a natural floodplain anyway, and it floods every time it rains heavy. It did today, but that's what it's supposed to do. So if in fact he builds the bridge and he builds it like he wants to, where he wants to, and FEMA approves it, and we did have a flood, it would affect those two people if it flooded.
The 100-year.
Yeah, and we notified them by mail and notified them with a letter and notified them of this public hearing.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Based on some of the feedback we got from our engineer that did the study,
Yeah.
have those issues been met?
I'm gonna talk about that next. If you want me to go ahead and talk about it now, I can. The Clomar process offered by Mr. Baker, I'll be honest with you, I am not an engineer and the attorney is not an engineer, so we thought it best to obtain an engineer to have him review what Michael has and will present to FEMA. New River Engineering out of Mount Holly reviewed the report plus the hydraulic report that he has to include That's how much water will come down the creek at any particular time. And based on his review and the information that, and conversation with it, he says that the existing Macon Family Farm Bridge is still in violation of the Fairview Flood Damage Prevention Ordinance, Article 5, Section 4, Section F, 1, A, and B. And he knows that. I mean, it's very obvious that he is not meeting the requirement of the Fairview ordinance. And that's the reason he's applying to FEMA to have that condition changed in that particular section. In other words, this is the reason he's in violation, and he's asked us to come and give him permission to ask FEMA if they'll change the rules of the bridge in that particular section. Now, FEMA may or may not, but we are giving him the opportunity to apply. But the engineer has looked at it and said, after his review, he still doesn't meet our requirements.
The existing bridge. Is that the existing bridge?
Yes. The temporary.
Yeah, the temporary bridge.
Well, didn't he review the new one too?
No, he didn't have, because it's not there yet.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Is the Clomar application ready?
Yeah, the Clomar application been ready since June, so I'm just waiting for the application.
Well, should I read what the engineer has,
That's not it.
you said that wasn't correct here with there's certain things on the photo application you haven't gotten yet.
Correct, from Judge, correct.
So what are those things that are not received on the current Clomar application?
Just me one. I could just,
Anybody answer the question?
yeah, it's the MT, that form there, that I just, that's one that we have to sign, correct? And then also the letters that Ed has sent to the, impacted.
Affected property.
Correct. That has to be included in either a draft letter or, since we have the actual letter now, that has to be included.
So we cannot, you're saying we cannot review the completed application?
You can review it without those, without those. It's completed. Well, we have everything completed now except for those forms. So what we're gonna do is send a completed package. But the package is not complete to send to FEMA without that form and without the letter. But if you want to review what we have right now, I can see that complete package.
So what is the MT form you're referring
That right there, that's the,
to? What is that? I don't
that
know.
is, FEMA, that is the observation and concurrence form.
Can you go in more depth? So
Yeah, it just says, it just says that, what,
It's on page 22. It's on page 22.
It's on page
21,
21 and 22.
23.
yeah. So that form just, it asks for the different, what we're doing, the request from FEMA to FEMA, the Clomar so far. And this information, whether we're putting in field or putting in a bridge, and the floodplain designation, and then it asks for concurrence from the requester, which is me, the city, community, and the engineer. And those things I can go through what it's asking of the individual. Me is just I own the property and then I have the correct permits. The community is that they're certified that they're aware of it, they understand the impact and the necessary permits are issued. And then the engineer just has to, so that they have used sound engineering practices to do the hydraulic.
And I think you said on the engineer's report for the 500-year flood, that if I'm hearing you correctly, is that the bridge that you would like to put in is the height you would like to be, but is that the height that will meet the requirements of a 500-year flood.
Correct. What the engineer is saying, that it will not be impacted by a flood.
His engineer.
Correct. It will not be, if it's at that level, 500, we forget the elevation. It will not be, because where it is now, if there's a flood, it will be overtaken. If it's above that 525, I'm just throwing a number out, I'll get the number, it will not be overtaken by any flood.
Now, let me ask you a question. The engineer, he has reviewed the hydraulic report on the present bridge.
Correct.
And we know that's, doesn't meet the ordinance.
Right.
Now, there was a question about the future bridge. Will that ever meet the ordinance? If the lower one doesn't? If the temporary bridge now doesn't meet our requirements, would the one ever meet our requirements without the approval of FEMA?
I don't know that I can picture that.
I mean, FEMA would be the.
FEMA would be the last person. They've got to okay what I call the difference. The request that he's making to not build the bridge as high as we have requested him to.
Right.
Okay?
Well, we're not hydraulic engineers, so we need an entity to tell us this is gonna work or it's not gonna work.
And when he builds the new bridge, we will probably hire the same engineer to check to see what he's done with the new one. But we don't have a one. And that's
Based on what I've studied or read, is that the application can still be submitted to FEMA without the town approving it. FEMA, and then FEMA makes a decision whether it approves or doesn't approve it. If they approve it, then it comes back to the town. The town can make a decision at that point in time whether it approves changing, because what you're doing is you're changing the floodplain.
Right.
The town makes a decision at that point in time whether to accept the change or not accept the change.
We or you would grant the authority to move forward with this process, but reserve the right if it came back from FEMA.
We don't have to approve the process at all. I do think that Mr. Bacon can actually submit to FEMA this change.
They assign a number to it, and then when they review their process, when their process is over, they approve it or not approve it, then they send it back to us.
Yeah.
For our knowledge.
And then it goes
If
from
they
that,
need-
yeah, it goes from that section. If we approve it, he builds the bridge, and then it goes to Lomar.
And he's got to get a
And
permit
then it gets, from that
on the new one.
on the new one.
But I guess I'm a little confused, if the engineer.
Yeah, but I don't think you submit it up. Sorry.
Okay, we're talking about the concurrence. He's asking us to, along with giving us an explanation of the Clomar, asking us to sign that form that we showed you and concur with his application.
We're basically giving him approval to move forward with his application.
Not approval. Well, just to move
forward
with the
with the application. We're not giving him approval to build the bridge.
You can't.
You can't do it.
Correct.
FEMA has to approve
That's what John's saying.
the next step.
Yeah, that's correct.
We're only approving the next step of allowing this to go forward. But John's saying that he can do it with or without our approval.
And I'm not a lawyer.
Okay, but the bottom line is, this is nothing more than to push it to FEMA for their
I
decision.
would think, now, correct me if I'm wrong, Michael, if we don't agree to sign the application, then you can certainly ask for an explanation as to why we don't want to sign it, and attach that to your application.
Well, more than likely, yeah, they will ask, yeah. I don't know why.
I guess my question is,
If we could keep it there.
you know, we know that the temporary bridge does not meet the requirements of the ordinance.
That's correct.
And
He's got a temporary permit to use that bridge.
and the hydraulic flow or the no rise, whatever it is, has determined the height of what the final bridge would be, right?
Right.
But Mr. Macon is asking to build a bridge lower than what the engineer requests.
Sorry. No.
No?
So what is it? That's what I heard.
Let's see. The hydraulics report is on the current bridge. Right?
Okay. I think your engineer, yes, but what mine did both. She did analysis on the lower one, the temporary, and on the as-built, the new one. So what she said, when I said that the lower bridge will be overtaken by the flood, right? So she did that analysis, but the new bridge will not be. So she did analysis on both. If you look at the hydraulic report, it talks about the 525 elevation. So if I build it at that level, it will not be overtaken. Right.
My understanding, our engineer did not review that.
Correct.
Right, Alan?
No, he reviewed the entire 161-page report. Absolutely, he did.
Okay.
The engineer and I were.
Okay.
His findings were that it was in violation of our ordinance.
Both bridges?
That's my understanding.
So if you built the bridge, it would still be in violation of the ordinance based on the height.
That's the way I was reading it. Yeah. I'm not a hydraulic engineer either, so.
Yeah, I don't think
I think he reviewed both.
He did. Look on page 18.
18 of the.
At the very bottom, the report states that the information provided is based on existing HEC2 and HEC-RAS models. HEC refers to Hydraulic Engineering Center, RAS refers to River Analysis System. HEC2 is the precursor of the HEC-RAS. Most current FEMA models and flood studies used in the United States are all based on HEC models. The report models two separate scenarios: the existing temporary bridge and future conditions bridge. The report shows that each scenario has a rise in the base flood elevation. In North Carolina, it is accepted that a no-rise flood study shows rises in the VFE less than 0.00 feet. Therefore, based on the hydraulic report, a no-rise flood study cannot be obtained, and a CLOMAR must be approved prior to the construction of the new bridge.
that's the reason we're here. Right.
So the concurrence of this document, and I'm sorry, I'm getting a little bit difficult to understand, is very simply, you're asking to move forward with the application with FEMA, the CLOMAR, to then be considered to build the new bridge based on the engineering specs. That's what we're talking about.
That's correct.
Agreed by FEMA.
FEMA has to do, yeah.
What's the length of time for that process? Do we know that? Once you submitted the application, wherever that is, and that goes forward, do we know what that length of time is?
Could be 6 months.
6 days, 6 months, 6.
Yeah, I was told at least 6 months.
It's the federal government, it's not gonna be 6 days.
No, I'm saying, on the website it says 6 days, but it's, yes, especially not now.
Does anybody know why this is, FEMA is under this doesn't have a thing to do with this hearing, but it's under Homeland Security?
Because of the hazard of flood.
Okay.
It comes down to emergency management here in the state. So it comes down, here you start here, and then emergency.
Homeland, FEMA is under Homeland Security.
Okay, all right.
So just to recap my purposes, the permanent bridge, the stuff we brought in to elevate that area around the creek to meet the standards of the second bridge as stipulated by the hydraulic report and FEMA, is that correct? That makes sense?
I don't know. It didn't.
Still need to build up the land to get it to the height to be able to put the bridge where it needs to be.
You have to put a field. You have to put a field in.
Is that what you're asking?
Yes.
Okay.
If he didn't want to, if he wanted to build the bridge without any control at all, he would have to build it outside the floodplain. So the bridge would be 400 feet long.
Right.
And the fellow had to have to be outside the floodplain. He's asking to move it in from here and bring his bridge up to a certain point. Neither of which meets our requirements.
Well,
But they can if they approve it.
but the 400-foot bridge would,
Would,
because
on that, it's on court.
it is, it overrides everything else.
Yes.
Was that,
Now, I'm through, but I told you about the engineering report that we had done. She gave me the details on that, so I'm comfortable with it.
so, is Michael,
So
to make, finish?
we're gonna make a decision after the public comment, whether or not you concur with the conclusions and want to sign the application or not. Is that right now?
Yes.
So now we will turn it over to the public comments.
Just to clarify, we're not approving the building of a bridge, we're simply approving moving the application forward.
If you elect to sign it.
Just want everybody to be on the same page.
We'll make sure these comments are, they're gonna
But
be.
can I ask clarification? Even if we don't have to,
Right.
we don't have to approve it, it can still be submitted to FEMA.
I think so.
I mean, they have, sorry,
I think so.
they have the form. I mean, they're requesting the form. I mean, to me, it's an incomplete request if we go without.
What I thought, if we didn't sign it for some reason, we would attach a letter. We would give you.
Yeah, we can,
And you could attach the letter. And
It's
then
gonna be
proceed with it.
signed, whether it's approved to move forward or the reason why we're not moving forward, so that he can move.
That is correct.
Okay, all right, gotcha.
And remember, it's just a recommendation, like the
Yes.
planning board gives you all recommendations for zoning map amendments, you get to make that decision, FEMA gets to make this decision.
Number two, public can ask you or tell you anything. But the two, this public hearing is for the Clomar. They can express their opinion on what they want.
one more clarification before we get on to the public, because I know they got a lot of other stuff to say. If FEMA approves, it comes back to us to then approve before you go to Limar.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Because we would have to approve changing our ordinance.
Exactly, thank you.
Ms. Mayor?
okay, that gets us through, 2E on our agenda. The next one will be, 2F, and it's public comments. Like I said, I think we have 8 people who would like to speak. Let me go over those rules again real quickly in case I may have missed something earlier. When your name is called, and I noticed on this list here, some people write like I write. And I may have to ask what your name really is. So I can't read my writing, so don't be offended if I have to ask. Okay, that's number one. And once you get up there, state your name and
The way it's supposed to be.
supposed to say it and address. You'll have 3 minutes to speak, and then, but this is kind of contrary to what Ed just said. Comments, and what you told me is correct. Their comment, she told me comments should be limited to the Clomar application process, not just to anything.
Correct. Right. If this was a regularly scheduled town meeting and not a special meeting in which you have public comments once a month, then at that point, the public's entitled to speak, whatever they want to, related to certain ordinances. But this, because it's a public hearing, it has to be limited to this Clomar process.
So would I be right in saying that what they have to say has to
Should be,
Should relate to the
to
club.
Clomar? It can't be
not what I said.
not part of the process. Does everybody understand what I'm saying? And don't be offended if somebody crosses that line, so I'll ask you to speak up where you think that we've deviated, we gotta get back on track. So is everybody comfortable with the rules of engagement are?
Are we allowed to ask questions related to the Clomar? Are we allowed to ask questions
My understanding is,
or just comment?
I mean, normally it's
comments.
just comments. if you all-
Yeah, I think it's just comments. Ed, you looked at that, isn't that correct?
That is correct.
Just comments, there's no dialogue back and forth, this is just comments about the people that have signed up to speak.
But you can't ask a question and just go on the record, you guys can
That is correct.
respond later.
I'll say it again.
You can respond later, it's not like an open dialogue, but we can pose a
Correct.
question regardless for the record.
That's correct, that's correct. Okay, with that being said, we'll start out with name number one. It looks like, last name Rosenberg,
Yes.
what's the first name?
Alan.
Alan, I thought that was Alan, yeah, Rosenberg, huh? I thought it was Alan.
You can't read Alan?
I can read. Name and address, please.
Alan Rosenberg, 105 George Watkins Trail. You know, really what I wanted to comment, and it's off subject a little bit, but I just want to say just the concerns of the ongoing activity at this property, how it affects the homeowners there, you know, if this continues. So I know that would be something that probably the next council meeting that I need to address. So that's really what I wanted to talk about tonight. But I'll be at the next council meeting. And I have one question. When will a decision be made tonight to either approve this, or is this going to be taken to a regular council meeting? When will there be an opportunity before you make a decision to speak at the next council meeting?
I think, if my understanding is correct, the decision will be made tonight as to whether or not we, the board of correct work, endorse the application, is that correct?
Concur.
And let you know what's happening after the fact. Once we go through this process and the decision is made, the town council is going to go into closed session.
Right.
And then the closed session, will be time to spend to discuss anything in length as to what might clarify. For like you said, like the next meeting is if somebody asks an explanation, we'll be able to clarify if that would be the case. Am I saying that correctly?
So just so I understand too, that if you endorse this tonight, and it goes to FEMA, and say FEMA says, okay, it still comes back to the council or to the town to approve it. Is that correct?
That is correct.
So we will have a time to address all this.
Yes.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, Alan. Andre?
It's Andre Dashenko.
Oh, no.
Dashenko, and my wife actually, she was supposed to speak next, but she'll skip just because, you know, we're only talking about the bridge situation and stuff. So, and we would like to make comments about other things, but we're not going to. All I wanted to say is
The name and address, please.
it's 6904 West Duncan. Yeah, so all I wanted to say is I'm not an engineer, but whatever was presented just now, pretty much, I personally don't believe a single word, whatever it says on it. And I feel like there's got to be some independent engineer to actually back up the study, what was presented. So that's my personal opinion, but I would like to speak on the next meeting about other things, whatever's going on at the property. So.
And with that being said, you know, at the next meeting, there'll be another time period, sign up, and we'll know before the meeting starts, whether or not, who wants to speak and so forth. Just to let you know.
All right, thank you.
So your wife, Brad Davis?
I'm not Andre's wife.
Oh.
Thanks for clarifying. I know the long hair is tricky. My name's Brad Davis. We're at 6816 West Duncan. And you'll have to forgive my confusion over the last half hour or so.
Let me interrupt just 1 second.
Okay.
I need to get 3 to limit. Let's clear up your confusion and then let you say what you want to say.
Sure.
That
would be
that's
great.
fine with the council.
That would be great.
So explain your confusion.
So I'm listening to what Councilman Biggers is saying, and I don't know really that we have an answer to his question, which is if everything is signed tonight and handed over to FEMA, then are we essentially putting their verdict, like, are we putting this decision in their hands? And the reason that I feel like that matters is because they don't live here. And like today, Ed pointed this out. today, we had to go, everyone who lives on that road had to go around Garrett, go down, Mill Grove? Yeah, and then pass the golf course up to Lawyers Road that way, because you already can't get through there. And on one hand, you know, with a temporary bridge that could potentially make matters worse, if, personally, I would feel better if it were like, okay, when that bridge serves its purpose, we'll put in a new bridge that passes. But that ain't the case. So are we gonna sign a document, submit it for an application, let somebody decide, and if we've already signed it, then does what they say go? Because then we're just having that bridge. And as a, someone, you know, where the creek is in my backyard, that's kind of like that matters to me. It matters not only for something as frivolous as resale value, but now I've got to consider, like, do I need flood insurance this area? You know, you drive through Henry Bridge, like, this is low land, it's constantly flooding. And are we going to compound the issue to make an exception for whatever Mr. Macon wants to do? Now, I will say this, I don't want people telling me what to do with my property, and I don't want to tell Mr. Macon what to do with his. I really don't care what he does with his property until it starts to affect mine, right? It's your house. Do you care what he does if it starts to affect how high water is rising in your backyard? The last thing I'll say is this, I bet the people, I wonder if a similar conversation was had in Western Carolina a couple of years ago. That's all I'm gonna say. Thank you.
Thanks, Brad. Then Dave?
I think you covered it.
Chuck, okay?
Good evening, Council. Chuck Honeycutt, 6806 West Duncan Road. Probably comes no surprise that I'm here to object to the Clomer application. The reason why, you guys have a serious responsibility here. This is not a pass-through and let's put it on FEMA. Brad said it really well. We depend on you guys to watch out for all of our rights and all of our safety, including the floodplain, which there seems to be some confusion historically as to whose responsibility it is to uphold the ordinances related to the floodplain. That is the town. DEQ's responsibility is the riparian buffer, two different things. What we're talking about tonight with this Clomer application is a 10-inch rise with a permanent bridge. 10 inches is not a small number, especially when you consider the fact that the calculations they did are just for the bridge, not for the hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dump trucks of dirt that have already been dumped in the flood zone on that property, which is in violation of the town's ordinances, which puts all of us in this room at risk of being in violation of the NFIP requirements, which the town could get written up for, and we could lose federal subsidies for our insurance. So this is not a small thing. This is a serious deal. If you haven't been to the property, you don't need to go. Look on Google Maps. A great picture of it with mounds and mounds and mounds of dirt in the flood zone. And I think historically we've looked at the DEQ and expected them to manage it. That's not their deal. So if this application goes to FEMA and they see that our responsibility, your responsibility as a town haven't protected our flood zone, it puts everybody at risk. So I want to make sure you guys realize we're depending on you to look out for us. Thank you.
And, Kat?
Nice to meet you, finally. It's Catherine Honeycutt. Hey, guys, I know I'm nicer than my emails appear, I promise. This does relate to what the Clomer. My family's from Union County, born and raised. My roots are here. My parents. Then they moved to Charlotte after they graduated high school, college, and then raised us in Charlotte. My sister and I couldn't wait to get back to the country. She's in the country, and then my husband and I and family waited, prayed and prayed and prayed and waited probably 5 or 6 years to find a post in the right spot. And we're so excited to be where we are. We love our neighbors. We love the street. It's the best street ever. It's just the best street ever. It's a dream. I'm very familiar with FEMA. I used to live in a floodplain. Gary and I both know. He grew up in a floodplain. I lived in the floodplain 2 streets over. FEMA bought my house and tore it down. This is a serious matter. At the time in Charlotte, if you had 3 floodplains and you had insurance on your home, FEMA literally knocked on my door and said, hey, I'm a law attorney, I'm here to buy your, give you an offer on your home. Because they were tired of constantly having to pay for a flood. So I sold my home and they tore it down. That's what they did. We know FEMA, I mean, I'm very familiar with what goes on here. And do I need to remind y'all, you know, Hurricane Helene. I mean, if y'all have driven around today, I had to drive my son to Old Charlotte Highway, and I was coming back on Concord when I had to drive through like this much water, and I was scared to death. But the minivan in front of me went, so then I went. So where we are, it is set, it already floodplain. We're in the country. It's, of course it's already floodplain. There is so much underwater right now. Y'all should just go drive through and see. So when you talk about raising a piece of property up, I don't even know how many feet, 8, 9, you can correct me how many feet, 8 feet is going up?
That's more than
Oh, we can't comment. Okay. So when you raise a property up, what's going to happen to all the properties behind it? I'm not an engineer like my husband, but I can tell you one thing. I'm not an idiot. The water's going to run off somewhere. Where's it running off? Into the creek. What's the creek going to do? The creek rises. Like, it was a mess today. And all the water, we still can't go down Howie Bottoms and Duncan where the golf course is. You can't, usually it retrieves back pretty quickly. You still cannot get down there. And now this is not, and I know I have to be quick, but there are strange things happening in the world. I don't want to get biblical on you, and I could, because I love the Lord Jesus with all my heart. But there are very, very strange things happening right now. Things are so unpredictable.
Time.
And then to put us in a situation where our properties could flood, we can't get flood insurance because FEMA will decline us, and then we can't sell our homes. And it's going to be a lot of people that are affected. So thank y'all very much for, I hope I was related to this. Thank y'all very much.
And this is the last one that has signed up, Michael.
Michael Snitko, 6905 West Duncan Road. So we go back to that one. He mentioned to the bridge, it's been built only a few feet. It's 200 feet, way too close to the creek. By satellite, when you look by satellite, you don't have to go physically there. I moved, built a house, moved in 2021 with my family. And we've been logging at that moment. There was never been berries like he stated. There was berries there. There's got washed out by flood. Not even one berry bush was there. When he said that he planted berries, they got washed away by the flood. So we built it up at least 10 to 12 feet. That property been built. And since last time it flooded, this time it's got flooded more because it brought more dirt. And the water stays in the roadways, can't run away nowhere. So even, for example, I'm doing a little project in Florida there for my lift for the jet ski. I gotta go through a lot of hoops to just put a little retaining wall. A lot of hoops. And you talk about the bridge, they gotta bring the tanks up there. The water pump and cycle the water like you do on the highway. Same thing with the bridge over here. Water constantly going there. So it's not easy built. And like somebody said it, I forgot your name. Cat said it's like we love the neighborhood. Till the trucks rolled in and started making it miserable. My daughters can't walk anymore. She's afraid to get run over. But now it's thankfully stopped, so everybody got a catch relief. Now we got to water on this thing, so. The bridge, I guarantee everybody gonna be flying down because it's making a mess for us and our properties.
Thank you. That is the end of the list of people that pre-signed up to speak. If anyone, we have the time, if anyone would like to get up, if someone that's not already spoken wants to get up and speak, feel free to, because it's the same process, less than the name and number, you're welcome to stand up. With concurrence of the council, go ahead and stand up and speak in regards to items associated with the club. Do we have anyone that's interested in that?
Serge Kalashnik, 6919 West Duncan. Didn't think I need to speak today because we kind of made a lot of our concerns known below in the last meetings. However, I heard a couple concerning comments while we were talking about this. I think one of your questions was never answered as far as how high the water would go up downriver. He asked Ed didn't know, he kind of shuffled and just moved on. We didn't get an answer there, just that way. As far as the rest of the concerning items, you guys said he's currently in violation, including, I believe there was expired permits for the temporary bridges and other things like that. Are we turning a blind eye to that? Are we doing anything about that? Are we gonna continue to live in some form of violations regarding that property? That's a couple of the things. That's just with the temporary bridge. I didn't fully understand the situation until we came here, right? Not only the engineer report says not only does the temporary bridge not pass, but the future one as well. I mean, we're already living with something, I guess. Have any citations have been done? Have any permits been pulled back? Has anything been done at all to address any of the violations? Is there any enforcement? I mean, I've never heard of anything, and we just continue to talk about it without anything ever being done. I understand we're trying to, submit a CLOMAR and all this other things and whatever comes afterwards, but is it gonna be the same process there? It doesn't get approved, we just continue living with the temporary bridge forever and just turn a blind eye, or what's the actual outcome in the future? At the same time, I believe the rules stated that he needs to notify the community, not just the one or two people that potentially, in their opinion, may be affected. I don't think anybody here was notified about any of the work that would happen. We're all just kind of surprised when thousands of trucks started rolling in. So again, with that CLOMAR application, it says everybody had to be notified. He says they notified 2 people, is what I understood. And if that's the definition of a community, I don't think that's correct, especially if those people may not even be living on that property next door. So I'm not sure if they even received the letters. Was it registered mail? Was it, how do we even know that they know? Is there any way to prove that? So again, the question I'm posing is if the new bridge doesn't meet the requirements and either he leaves the old one or moves on with the new one, I haven't seen any kind of enforcement, any kind of citations, any proof, that anything gets done about that. So if he just continues doing whatever he wants, I have no faith that we're gonna follow through based on any rules. So then in that case, what gives us ability to come to Ed and say, hey, do you approve this additional welding unit? No, I don't. Well, I don't care. I'm just going to build it anyways because you guys won't do anything about it. So who cares? As far as the engineer's report, do we have? As far as the engineer's report, I know we did a third-party assessment. Is that something that our town tax dollars are paying for in order to submit his CLOMAR, or is that something that he will be footing the bill for? Final question.
Well, my understanding is that was for our own purposes, as far as having the big picture, and it came out of the towns.
So our tax dollars are paying for something we don't agree with.
Well, that's not necessarily true. We want to. Can I respond to that? No, basically, it was not he versus he in this particular case. We wanted to know, because like we've stated earlier, none of us are engineers. And we wanted to get another parties to look at it and let them tell us what they read and in my case, explain to me where I might have understood better if we had somebody that we were talking to. So we spent the money, we thought it'd be worthwhile to find out what someone else thought about it that had no ties, had nothing to do with it. So we approved it as a council to go ahead and seek out another engineer. And we were fortunately found close to do that and did a report. And like she said, we produced a 161-page hydraulic report. Am I saying that all right? So we did, the town did pay for it.
Okay, and considering that our tax dollars paid for it, do we get access to this report? The engineer
We get a
report?
copy? Oh, yeah, it's on the record.
It's public
Yes,
record.
it's all right. Yeah, it's on the record. Yeah.
So it's something we can grab off the website, off of our
I don't know
website?
if it's posted on the
It's not
website.
on the website, you have to ask me for it.
Okay,
All you gotta do is send me an email and I can send it to you.
Thank you. Sorry for taking, no problem. Anyone else?
Can I speak?
There's no reason why not. Oh, how is that?
About the Clomar,
Clomar.
Clomar only, yeah.
Mine will stay on subject. All right? Just want to make sure that there's a report. Clomar is specific to the 100-year flood. And what the neighbors don't realize, if there's a flood, if I put a home behind, on my property, I cannot get out, I'm trapped. If Howard Bottom floods, and stuff, I'm gonna Clomar, they can go down, 218. I cannot get out of my property. So I just wanted to note that if my land floods, and I don't have a bridge that will withstand the water, I will be trapped. Emergency crews cannot get there, but emergency crews can get to every one of their homes if Howard Bottom floods. That's all I have to say.
Anyone else?
Well, that easement has been bought to get into the property. There was no right of way to get into the property, number one.
we're getting out
We're
of,
deviating from the.
if you want to speak, get up there, you know, speak.
But only in
It's not a conversation.
the conversation, and it's dealing with Clomar and not what's happened. In that
I
particular
was talking about if you get trapped there.
I understand, we can't go there. This is only dealing with Clomar. Kathy, you want to come back there?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, regarding that comment, if he gets flooded, we're all flooded out, because he's up on the hill. So if he thinks he's got problems getting flooded, we're gone.
Anyone else like to speak? Okay,
I just have two, when is the next council meeting?
The 12th of
12.
August.
Okay. And then, with whatever your decision is tonight, will that be posted on the website? Okay.
In fact, they could wait right here, we can make it. Plan to make those decisions tonight.
The next thing that happens is, if there's nobody else wishes to speak,
You close the public hearing.
I need a motion to close the public comments portion of this. I need a motion to it. Okay, I'm officially closing the public comments at this time. So that public hearing part is closed,
Close the public hearing.
and public hearing is closed. Everybody understand that? Okay, on our agenda 2H, at this point in time, and I might feel free to
Yep.
read, basically, at this point in time, this will be discussion, if I'm saying this right, between the town council as to what we've heard tonight from both parties. I mean, I'm talking about, you know what I'm saying, both parties. And at this time, we will be discussing the current section on the Clomar form and make a motion to either instruct the town administrator to sign the form with an other explanation, or do not sign the form and send a letter of why the town is opposed to Clomar. With that being said, let me make sure I do this right. I need a motion,
Discussion from the council on the Clomar.
discussion at this point, but not the motion yet.
No.
Okay, so I'm opening the floor to the council as to any questions you may have of the rest of the town council and Melanie, or and Ed, as far as things we've heard tonight. Tricia, I'll start with you tonight.
I'm struck by what we've heard about the impacts on the neighborhood. That's very concerning to me.
I should know this, but we continue to state that even the second bridge is out of our town ordinance standards. I do not know what that is, and I should know that. So where does that bridge fit in what we require? I don't know the answer to that.
It's in the ordinance, and I'll be honest with you, it's very detailed, but it has to do with the no rise. In other words, I can't explain the no rise, but she may can
It's
clearly.
on page 24, the highlighted language. For this is section F, floodways and non-encroachment areas. And then under subsection 1, no encroachments, including fill, new construction, substantial improvements, or other development shall be permitted unless A, it is demonstrated that the proposed encroachment would not result in any increase in the flood levels during the occurrence of the base flood discharge based on hydraulic analyses performed in accordance with standard engineering practices and presented to the floodplain administrator prior to the issuance of a floodplain development permit, or B, a conditional letter of map revision FLOMAR has been approved by FEMA. A letter of map revision LOMAR must also be obtained within 6 months of completion of the proposed encroachment.
Is that understandable, everyone? Does that answer your question?
Well, not specifically, and I guess I'm looking for height and hydraulic, all of that, and we don't state that because that would be very difficult to do. But B covers only if it is approved by FEMA, and only at that point, then we make the decision whether we allow it or not. So we've got A and B that we've got to consider.
Yes, sir. I don't think you have A or B to make a decision. Based on the engineering report, Mr. Clark, if I'm wrong, based on the engineering report we have, the new bridge will still impact the floodplain. And therefore, CLOMAR is going to have to rewrite where the plain is. So there is the only way to get around this is to build a bridge above the no-rise to prevent changing the floodplain.
Or have a 400-foot bridge.
That's what I'm saying. You have to have a bridge high enough above the no-rise to prevent changing the floodplain. So based on this, I'm just going off of what New River, the way they wrote up their report. We're going to send to FEMA and say, here's the proposed new bridge, and this is what it will do to the floodplain. And they're going to come back to us and approve or deny. If they approve it, then we will have to change where the floodplain is in that region. That is the way I'm reading this, and correct me if I'm off base.
I think that's correct, but I think FEMA is the regulatory body that actually changes.
FEMA will actually change the floodplain.
Correct.
Based on the bridge, the new bridge.
If you can answer this question, what happens, what you said, when they come back and approve it, we still can question or not. The process still continues. If we're not happy, we still can question what they say. Is that correct?
FEMA would come back, in my opinion, FEMA would come back to us and say they've approved it, and here's what the change to the floodplain would be.
Then we would change our ordinance to that because that's what they allow.
I'm not.
But what if we don't want to change that? That's still up for discussion, correct?
Right, if Mr. Bacon obtains the FLOMAR and the LOMAR, then the bridge would not be in violation because he's met paragraph B. Right? Right now, you can't put anything in the floodway unless you go through
Satisfy A and B.
A or B.
A or
A or B.
That answer your question? Are you good with that? Are you good?
I have another question. Are there any homes that sit currently in the floodplain? Is that even something that can be done?
No. Well, I don't know of one in the floodplain.
Not in the current floodplain.
In the current floodplain.
You can't build on it.
Well, that's my understanding. I just wanted to clarify that. So what we're talking about is if FEMA came back and said they wanted to potentially agree to change the floodplain, what rights do these people have that FEMA could potentially change their property? I don't know the answer to that. You
I don't
stated
know
something,
the
but I don't know the answer to
They can take our
These
flood
people
insurance away.
aren't in the floodplain. I don't know a lot. You may have part of your lot in the floodplain, but not the
Correct.
house.
it. But it has to be a certain distance for a
Yeah,
structure
yeah.
to be
So
there.
their structure
My
is not
question
in
or my
the-
thought is this. When FEMA takes this into consideration, let's say a home that has to be, and I don't know the answer, 500 feet out of the floodplain. I don't know what it is. Just follow along with me. If FEMA says, we'll do this, but now the floodplain is now going to be 400 feet from somebody's structure.
That doesn't have anything to do with it. We are talking about that section of the creek
Right.
and changing the rules and regulations on that section to pertain to him and his application.
Okay.
We're not talking about floodplains or upstream or downstream, other than upstream where it might affect it. But they would come back and change just that section. The creek is divided into sections. And they would change the rule in that section.
I hear what you're saying.
So let's say, wouldn't have any effect on anybody. Let's say the 500-year flood did come and we all got flooded. Well, yeah, then FEMA would take, we would all be in the same boat. FEMA may change the rules then, but it doesn't have anything to do with his particular bridge.
As of right now,
The,
they're already sitting there pushing the
insurance,
creek over.
the insurance is controlled by FEMA.
A little too
You
late.
can't,
We're creating common dialogue, and
Yeah.
that thing's closed.
Okay.
But this dialogue is strictly along this. here.
well, I'm answering his question.
You know, I'm saying that we're getting some comments over here that we can't.
I agree.
I'm just clarifying everybody, we're not just be doing that dialogue. So are you comfortable with the answers that you got?
I am, but I don't know that I have enough information to say yes or no on moving forward with flood. That's where I am.
That was one of the issues, the engineer that we contracted with said that, the report, it wasn't sealed, it wasn't signed, it didn't feel like he could give it the same, level of importance because the engineer didn't fully complete it.
You're talking about the initial information, hydraulic report.
Yes.
Then-
Yes.
So there's, basically, are you saying that the information that was in that report may necessarily not be, not deliberately correct, but it's not sealed and documented to be sure that it's, how am I going to say that?
Right, okay, so he, as a courtesy, sent her a copy, Paige Brew is her name, of the review that he conducted for the town. And her response was, thank you for getting in touch and sending this over. Yes, I'm currently helping the owner prepare a FOMAR application. We're hoping to wrap it up soon. The purpose of the hydraulic analysis report I provided was to determine whether a no rise could be achieved and to access the available information. That's why I did not stamp it. Let me know if you want the Goose Creek detailed study HEC RAS files for your work.
So we don't know if that information is valid. She could verify.
It's not stamped by an engineer. It will have to be stamped by an engineer before Mr. Megan submits the application.
You could, or you know.
Well, so we're being asked to approve something that hadn't been stamped and verified by an engineer. Am I understanding that right?
That was one of his comments, correct?
I think so.
No, you like to make some more comments? Okay.
I mean, legally, I don't think necessary.
John?
No.
Okay, and I'm, like I said, as mayor, I only give a vote in case of ties, so I'm staying strictly neutral at this point in time. So at this point in time,
far as process we're supposed to be going through, at this point in time, I need a motion to either instruct the town administrator to sign the form without a letter of explanation, or do not sign the form and send a letter by the town as opposed to the phone. So do I have a motion?
I have a question. I'll make the motion, but am I making a motion for us to vote as a council, or am I making a motion one way or the other, and then it gets approved or disapproved? I don't know the instructions here.
I think you're making a motion because you have to give instructions to Mr. Humphries as the land use administrator as to whether or not he can sign that community concurrence form or not.
But we're taking a vote between the three councils.
Yes, yes.
So I'm making a motion to take a vote.
Your motion is for a vote.
For a vote to instruct.
I'm not very good at Robert's rules, I apologize. So, okay.
So make your motion and you tell us whether or not this motion is the way it should be stated.
Right, it's related to this paragraph 2 on the bottom of page 22 of the Clomar application. Because there's a section for a community official signature and it says required.
So I'm sorry, am I making a motion for us? Because if I make the statement that I'm making a motion for us to sign this or to give it the authority, that's making a statement in the affirmative. And if I'm in disagreement with that, what am I supposed to say? That's what I need guidance in what to say to start.
Then you could say, I make a motion that we instruct Mr. Humphries that he is not to sign paragraph 2 of the community concurrence, and that he is to draft a letter or include our engineering report or whatever it is you want him to do.
Okay. So I'm going to make a motion based on the information that we've been provided tonight associated with the engineering reports, that we not sign in affirmative the letter of concurrence, but provide our explanation as to why we're not.
Motion's so being stated, do I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? If no further discussion, show up with your hands in favor, those in favor of the motion as stated. So the motion passed that he made, is that correct?
Yes.
So you'll take care of the letter
Yes,
part.
the attorney and I will prepare a document to give to Mr. Mackey.
Okay, at this point in time, I'd like to have another motion made for the town council to go into closed session. And that motion will be made, once the motion is made, seconded and approved. We ask those, thank you for coming tonight, thank you for stating your feelings and comments and so forth, and we'll take into consideration. But we ask you to have a nice night and be safe going on.
Thank you.
Make a motion to close session. Second.
Any discussion?